So, looking at life insurance, health insurance here, and for my own family. All right, and I'll share you some more tidbits. What I'm looking for. It's a mess. No other way around that. But just because it's a mess doesn't mean you should be ignorant and just pretend it doesn't exist. So let's start today with the difference between an HMO and a PPO. I think that's a starting point for sure. And the reason I want to start with that is because of my and my wife's experience with both of these in terms of ourselves and some of the people we know as well. And then I'll do other videos on this because this is a process I'm going through. Now, I'm 48 years old, I have 4 kids. I left my job in March of 2017, so just got off COBRA 2 months ago. All right, now I have open enrollment for Obamacare. And we're looking at stuff. And my wife, she works part-time, just decorating Christmas decorations that you hang on your Christmas tree. It's like $10 an hour. I'm doing the YouTube and meeting clients on occasion. So, we got a little bit of money coming in, but certainly not what we were making before. And COBRA is a big deal. And that wasn't cheap. In fact, I'll share with you here next video on how you can find out what your COBRA would be. So now we're on our own. And right now we do have Medicare. I'm not going to dive into that here today, but the question is, can we qualify for Obamacare credits? That's all we're looking at. So what happens in 2019? Right now, we're covered under Medicare. I'm going to do a podcast with a lady, a doctor in Texas, who's a direct primary care, DPC, which is primary care providers that you pay a monthly fee that doesn't go through insurance, which I'm a huge fan of that. But again, what is the stuff for catastrophic? I don't know. So we're going to dive into that too. So lots of different discussions that I'll share with you as we go forward here. So don't forget to subscribe. So the first thing you got to understand, I just did HMO versus PPO and Medical Mutual from Ohio. So I try to get quote myself a plan just to see if they'd let me at 3004, which is my zip code. They would not because they're only in Ohio. So a couple of things on health insurance or any insurance, actually. If you see the word mutual, that's really what you want to go. That's kind of like the equivalent of a credit union for insurance company. All right. So it's owned by its policyholders. Vanguard would be the equivalent of a mutual company for investments. It's owned by shareholders, not the shareholders like stock market shareholders, but as investors is actually the right word. USAA is not quite a mutual company, but it is owned by the members. All right, so you want to start with mutual because it is owned by its, in this case, it's insured or the members, or like a credit union, the members. And investors like a place like Vanguard. So this actually, and I looked at a bunch of different things on this, and this is the best one I found. What's the difference between HMO and PPOs? HMO is Health Maintenance Organization. PPO is Preferred Provider Organization. All right, so it's good to have choices when it comes. Let me see if I can't make this bigger. Hold on a second here. I guess that's as big as I can get it. All right, it's good. There we go. It's good to have choices. When it comes to health insurance, you have your choice of several plan types. Typically, you've heard of an HMO and a PPO, Preferred Provider Organization. Generally speaking, the difference between HMO plans includes the size of the plan, the plan network, the size of the plan network, and that's the critical thing, ability to see specialists, plan costs, and coverage for out-of-network services. An HMO gives you access to a certain doctors and hospitals within its network. A network is made up of providers that have agreed to lower their rates for plan members and also meet quality standards. But unlike a PPO, care under an HMO is covered only if you see a provider within that network. There are few opportunities to see a non-network provider. There are also typically more restrictions for coverage than other plans, such as allowing a certain number of visits, tests, or treatments. Some plans may require you to select a primary care physician who will determine what treatment you need. Some plans, you may need to see a PCP referral to be covered when you see a specialist or have a special test done. If you opt to see a doctor outside of an HMO network, there is no coverage, meaning you're going to pay the whole doggone thing. Premiums are generally lower for HMO plans, and there's usually no deductible or a smaller one. Some HMO plans, including those offered by Medical Mutual, which is this company, do not require you to see a PCP or have a referral to see a specialist. And that's a pretty big deal, but I don't know about Medical Mutual. You'd have to look at that if you're a resident of Ohio. Might not be a bad idea to do that. PPO plans provide more flexibility when picking a doctor or hospital. They usually feature a network of providers, but there are fewer restrictions on seeing non-network providers. In addition, your PPO insurance will pay if you see a non-network provider. So if you go to a non-network, you're still going to be insured, unlike the HMO where it's all on you. Although they're going to charge you a lower rate, they're going to pay a lower rate. So if you're a PPO and you go see a non-network provider, you still have insurance coverage, but it won't be the same extent as it would be within network, if that makes sense. But you still have coverage, so it won't be all on you. Here are some key features. You can see a doctor or specialist you'd like without having to see a primary care physician first. I'm telling you, that's a big deal. These primary care physicians are booked. Sometimes it's hard to go see somebody to get a referral to go see a specialist, which is what an HMO typically requires. So, I mean, let's just say your primary care physician is booked 4 weeks out, and you're dying today. You're bleeding. In a tourniquet, you can't keep a tourniquet on more than 24 hours. You got to get that tourniquet off, but you got to see a specialist. But you can't just go to the knocking on the door of the specialist. You got to go to your primary care physician. Your primary care physician says, sorry, Charlie, I'm booked for 4 weeks straight. Come back in a month. You're like, by then I'm going to bleed out. I'm being facetious, but you know what I'm talking about. You can see a doctor or go to a hospital outside your network and may be covered. Your network, your benefits will be better if you stay within the network, of course. And premiums tend to be higher, and it's common for there to be a deductible. So HMOs tend to be more affordable, less premiums, and you usually get less coverage and more restrictions. PPOs are more flexible and provide greater coverage, but come with a higher price tags and most likely a deductible. And you can see the summary of the different options. Access to a network. Yes. So remember the network. If you listen to my podcast or my videos with J.O., when he's talking about Medicare Advantage, remember, those insurance companies are putting together a network of providers, docs, essentially, in sparse rural locations, and he used Alaska. There's just not enough. There's just not enough of a network in which an insurance company can to go and put those networks together for profit. So just can't. And so because of that, there's no Medicare Advantage policies in Alaska. It's all Medigap. And the same thing is here. I mean, if the network is going to be small because the insurance company says, look, I can't organize it very well and profitably, they're just not going to do it, or it'll be a very, very small network to begin with, which is typical of an HMO. HMO networks are quite small, generally speaking. And ability to see a doctor you want without PCP, primary care physician, as a PPO. A referral from a PCP not needed to see a specialist. Again, that's a PPO. Low to no deductible or lower premiums. That's the HMO, and coverage for medical expenses outside of the network. On a PPO, that could be possible. Deciding between a HMO and a PPO. If you have a choice between these two types of plans, consider your needs, availability of HMOs in your area, and your income. If you're looking at an HMO, take a close look at the network to determine if the choices of doctors and medical facilities are enough to meet your needs. A PPO gives you more freedom, but it costs more. So this is a pretty good article. I'll put a link to the notes, but that's the difference between an HMO and a PPO. So an HMO is based on the network. You're going to have a limited amount of doctors in that network. If you don't typically need to go see a doc, all right, or you just don't, or you just, for whatever reason, then that might not be a big deal because the premium is going to be significantly lower than a PPO. And on top of that, you just don't go there that much anyway. If like we have, we're seeing docs all the time because kids and stuff like that. So generally speaking, the PPO would be preferable for us even at a higher premium because we're in there quite a bit. Now that might be the instance where the insurance, having insurance, it provides you to go see the doc more. So because you have insurance, like, well, I better use it. I don't want to lose it, essentially. But yeah, at the end of the day, I don't know. But that might be the way the insurance is incentivizing us to go actually see the doctor more. You got a sore throat. We're going to the doctor. It's not quite like that, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, you got a sore throat. We better use our insurance and go to the doctor. That's usually not a good use of insurance. Insurance is supposed to be for catastrophic coverage, but be it as it may, that's the difference there. So I hope you like what you see. Stay tuned for the next one where I'm going to show you how you figure out what your own COBRA payment would be. It's actually quite easy. So stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks now.